If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get alerts when we introduce new videos.
Welcome to the demonstration series for the SmartZone controller based on a high-scale deployment of the 5.2 SmartZone release. The videos in this series will show you the basic configuration of many aspects of the controller. In this video, we will create a wireless LAN as well as discuss some of the settings for creating the WLAN. Then we will take a look at how the WLAN is applied to a zone, and once clients are connected to the WLAN, how they can be managed. Let's get started. We're logged into Virtual SmartZone High Scale here, and we are looking at the WLAN, the wireless LANs tab. So in previous videos, we have created zones. We have configured APs to talk to SmartZone. We have put those APs within zones. So we're ready now to create some WLANs to get some client connectivity going. So the first step that we're going to do here is we are going to select the domain that we want this WLAN to apply to. So you can see I've got a couple of domains here. I'm going to select demo domain, demo zone 1. And then on the right-hand side of this window, you can see that it's blank. There are currently no WLANs defined in this zone. So we're going to go ahead and click Create. This brings up the Create WLAN configuration. And there are a lot of options here. We're not going to go through all of these options. But we are going to talk through some of them, and namely the ones that we have to fill out. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a test WLAN here. And you can see that as soon as we type in the name, it goes ahead and fills in the SSID. So this is what the users are going to see when they're searching for something on their device. They're going to see test WLAN. Obviously, this can be something different than the name. Just backspace it out, type whatever you want. Alternately, you can throw in the description. The zone here was automatically populated with demo zone 1 because when I selected demo zone 1 in the previous screen, before I clicked create, that's what was highlighted. So if I had just chosen system to create my WLAN, I would have then been able to choose a zone. Alternately, if I wanted to change which zone that this WLAN is going to apply to, I could click on this drop down and select a different zone from within this list. WLAN groups. So we talked in another video about WLAN groups. We haven't shown WLAN groups. Right now, the default WLAN group is selected. We don't have any custom WLAN groups specified. We'll talk later in another video about what we can do with WLAN groups. So right now, we're leaving that default. Next, we come down to the authentication options. So the authentication options currently just default to standard usage and an open method. So this is actually a dynamic window. So if we were to change this option, for instance, let's say we want to select web authentication. When we select web authentication, what we have down here is we see the authentication and accounting service popped up. So if we were going to select web authentication, we would need to specify a web authentication portal, a web authentication service, and other things associated with that. The same thing is true with Hotspot, Whisper, and a lot of these other settings. When you select one of the authentication types, some other options are going to show up for you to have to configure. We're going to go ahead and stick to a standard WLAN and not try to keep it, not try to get too complex with what we're doing here. So we're going to do a standard WLAN authentication type. We're going to leave it as open. If we were going to choose one of these other options, 8021X, we would have some radius options that we would need to specify as well. We do get to specify our encryption type. So whether we want to do WPA2, WPA3, a mix of both, we can select that here. I'm just going to select WPA2. And you notice when I do that, some additional things show up. Again, it's dynamic. So we are going to leave the default algorithm. And we can see that the passphrase here is blank. I'm going to go ahead and select a passphrase here. I'm just going to say test demo, and you can see that it is just hidden. So if we uncheck the off button for show, you can see that test demo is what we've got here for the passphrase. So we can toggle that on and off. And if you need to come back to a WLAN after you've created it to see what passphrase you had given it, you can do the same method for that. Additionally, there are more options. So if we were going to be setting up a data plane where we wanted this WLAN to tunnel traffic, we could certainly turn that on and configure that. Again, accounting options, radius options, many firewall options exist here. There are other demos that talk about the firewall profile and policies. We can turn on application recognition and control. I'm going to go ahead and do that. That isn't necessarily applying any firewall policy. What that is doing is allowing traffic on this WLAN to be identified and categorized. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on here. Additionally, advanced options. There's a ton of advanced options that we can apply to this WLAN. We're not going to talk about all of them, but Wi-Fi calling. You can turn on Wi-Fi calling, which helps Wi-Fi phone calls prioritize traffic. So you would set up Wi-Fi calling profiles depending on which cellular service providers you want to prioritize on this WLAN. So we could set that up here. We can change the access VLAN. So if we wanted a different VLAN, this is one of the many ways we could put a VLAN in here. We can hide the SSID, although not terribly helpful. We could hide that here. Again, many settings that can be applied. We're not going to talk about all of them, but once you've got the settings configured that you're wanting for your WLAN, we can click OK. Now that the WLAN has been created, we can see that under Demo Zone 1, so Test WLAN is showing up here. We can see its SSID, its authentication method, its encryption method. We can see that there are no clients, there is no traffic. It does have application recognition enabled. We did turn that on, and this is an AP bridged mode. So this current WLAN will apply to all of the access point groups. So I mentioned in a previous video, we talked about access point groups. If we go over to access points and we look at our demo domain 1 in our demo zone 1, there are two different access point groups here. There's the default access point group, and we did some overrides with an R510 on AP group 2. Both of these access point groups are going to be able to propagate the test WLAN that we created. If we select, so right now we're on system, we could select this to demo zone 1, filter this by, these are the APs for demo zone 1. If we select one of these APs and look at the general tab, we can see which WLANs currently are going to be propagated. So we can see on that first AP, it's got both test WLAN for the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz spectrum. And if we select the other AP, we can see a similar result. So it's got both. It's got the test WLAN on both of these, and these APs are in different groups because we are handling some settings on the 510 a little bit differently than on the 310. So next thing we want to do is we want to connect up a client to this AP group and just show you guys what that looks like. So I connected a client to the test WLAN that we just created. And right here from the access point view, we can see already that we've got one client connected. We can see how much traffic that particular AP has handled over the last 1 hour. This may be not reflecting just that specific WLAN if there were multiple WLANs being handled, but we can drill down further and get some additional information. So we've got the AP selected here. If we were to click the Clients tab, we can see more details about the specific client that is connected. So we can see right now, it looks like it's an Android phone. It's a Galaxy S10e. We can see the IP address it was signed. We can see what WLAN it came on. So again, we know that we're connected. This particular client is connected to the test WLAN that we created. We can see how much traffic for this particular phone we've managed to pump out. We can even see what the received signal strength and the signal to noise ratios are for this particular client on this AP. This is all information that you can see in multiple places. So if we were to navigate back over to WLANs, and we could select that specific test WLAN, we can select the Clients tab again and see exactly which clients are connected to that specific WLAN. The last view would have shown you all clients connected to all WLANs that AP may have been participating in, but this gives you just the ability to see that specific WLAN. Additionally, you'll notice if we select the client, there are some additional options and things that you can do. So you can deauthorize this client, so force them to re-authenticate, force them to go back and redo a web submission check. We can block the client so they are no longer able to connect to this WLAN, or we could just disconnect them. So it's just kind of bump them off. They'll be able to get back on, but they may have to re-authenticate based on the rules that were set up for their WLAN. We thank you for viewing this brief demonstration on WLAN creation and hope that you can catch additional videos in our SmartZone 5.2 video series.